Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we'll be making a Milkmaid top. I already shared the pattern drafting in my previous tutorial, so if you haven't seen that, I suggest you do before watching this one. The link will be in the description, so let's get started. So using the pattern, I've gone ahead to cut out all the pieces that I'll be needing for this top. So these two are the front pieces, and as you can see, when cutting, I left half an inch around that part right there because I'll be using that to attach the cups. And also when cutting the cup, I left half an inch allowance all around. And I have two pieces here, one for each side. Now this is for the back, and I used this pattern to cut out two separate pieces. I also gave half an inch allowance along the neck because I'll be folding that in. So I've cut out all my pieces and it's time to start putting them together, starting with the cups. So I'm just taking note of my center front because that's the first part I'll be working on. Note that I won't be using any lining for this top because the fabric is thick enough. So I'll be turning the cup over to the wrong side and I'm going to finish off the center front. While for the neck, I'll be creating a channel in which the strings will be passed through by folding it in twice like so. I'll also be finishing off the center front by doing the same thing as well because like I said, I won't be using a lining for this top. So I'll be taking this over to the machine and I'll begin with the center front and then the neckline. I'll do the same for the other side as well. I'm all done with that. So this is going to be the channel for the strings, and here is the center front. I did that for each of the cups, and now I'll go ahead to create the strings that will be passed into the channel. And for the strings, I have two rectangular pieces that are 27 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. I'll be folding it like so, and then I'm going to run a straight stitch all the way to the end on the wrong side. I'll do the same to the other piece as well, and when I'm all done, here's what it looks like. I stitched this using 1/4 of an inch, that way the string can pass through the casing with ease. So now I'll go ahead to trim out the excess, and then using my needle and thread, I'm going to turn this over to the right side. You can use a loop turner if you have one. I don't, which is why I'm using a needle and thread. I did that for each string, and when I'm all done, I just have to cut off the thread and pass the strings into the casing. So I'm using my safety pin to pass the string into the casing of the first cup. I'll do the same for the other cup as well. So as you can see, I'm passing the strings in such a way that the longer end of the string is towards the center front. The next thing I'll be doing now is to run a loose stitch on each of the cups so I can create gathers at the bottom. And I'll be doing this on the right side of the fabric, and please note that when doing this, do not backstitch. That way the thread will remain loose and you can pull on it just like I'm doing to create the gathers. I'll go ahead and do the same for the other cup as well, and when I'm all done, here's what it looks like. So now that I'm done with the cups, it's time to move on to the rest of the front piece, and what's left to do is to attach the cups to this piece right here. And this is how we want the cups to sit, and so to do that, I'm turning the cup towards the wrong side such that the right side of the cup is facing the right side of the rest of the front piece. Feel free to use pins to hold this down so you can see what you're working with and make adjustments where necessary. But I'm just going to take this to the machine and make sure to start stitching from the center front. So after stitching, here's what we have. I stitched all around using a 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and as you can see, there's a bit of space in between the cups. Now you can leave it as it is if you don't mind showing cleavage, but if you want to cover it up, you can simply do that by placing one on top of the other like so and running a straight stitch across. That way, when you flip it over to the right side, half of it will be covered and just a small part will be left open. So I've done that, and here's how it's looking. Now I have to give this a good press and move on to the back pieces. Now for the back piece, I'll start by folding the neckline twice and running a stitch across. You can use a bias tape or facing to finish off the neckline, but I prefer to fold this, so I'll take this over to the machine and do that. Once that's done, here's how it looks. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. So I'm going to be joining the back pieces to the front by stitching along the sides. But in order for me to do that, I first have to attach the sleeves to the armhole. And for my sleeves, I'll be going for a short puff sleeve. And to create the puff sleeve, I cut out two rectangular pieces. Each of these is 7 inches wide. I wish it could be longer, but I ran out of fabric, so I'm just going to be working with this. The full length is 29 inches. You can make yours longer. It depends on how big you want your puff to be. So I'm going to be folding each of them. I'll be placing one on top of the other like so. And on this end right here, not the folded end, I'll be creating the armhole for the sleeve. and I'll be doing that using my pattern paper. This is for the back, you can use the front as well. So I'm just placing this on top of the fabric like so, and then I'm just going to cut out the armhole. So that's it. This is a very easy way to get your armhole for a puff sleeve. So now I'm just going to open this up and turn it over to the wrong side. I'll take this to the machine and I'll be folding this part twice inwards like so. I'll run a straight stitch all the way across and do the same for the bottom, and this would be the channels for the elastic, and of course I'll do that for the other sleeve as well. So I've created the channels for the elastic. I did that on both sleeves, as you can see, and because I folded both ends, the width of my sleeve is now 2 inches shorter, so I'm working with 5 inches. Okay, so now it's time for me to go ahead and pass the elastic through the casing. For the shorter part, I'll be cutting out 11 inches for my elastic, while for the longer end, I'll be working with 13 inches. You can go ahead and measure around your arm and subtract 1 inch and then cut that out on the elastic. I'll go ahead to cut out 2 pieces of each length, making it 4 in total, 2. So the first 2 11 inches long and the second 2 13 inches long. And when I'm done with that, it's time to pass the elastic through the casing. So I'm passing the shorter elastic through the top and the longer one through the bottom. And when I'm all done, I'll go ahead to secure the ends using my pins. Okay, so now I'm done with one of the sleeves. This is how it looks. You can see the puff effect. I'll do the same for the other sleeve as well, and when I'm done with that, I'll take this to the machine, take out the pins and run a stitch across to secure the elastic. After doing that, it's time to attach the sleeves to the rest of the top, and I'll be doing that by stitching the armholes together. So I'm going to be placing the armhole of the sleeve to the armhole of the top, right sides facing each other like so. I'll go ahead and pin this down and flip it over, and you can see how it looks, and I'll be doing the same for the other side as well. So guys, you can see that our top is coming together nicely. Now I'm just turning the front piece over to the wrong side, and I'll be placing the back pieces on top of this, and then I'll go ahead to attach the other end of the sleeve to the armhole of the back pieces. So again, right sides facing each other, I'll go ahead to pin and do the same for the other side as well. And when I'm all done with that, I'll simply take this over to the machine and stitch down the armholes. So guys, I'm done stitching, and now that the sleeves have been attached, it's time to join the front and back pieces together by stitching them down along the sides. So I'm going to turn this over to the wrong side and then take this over to the machine to close down the sides. So starting from the sleeve, I'm going to stitch this all the way down using a 1 inch sewing allowance, and I'll do the same for the other side as well. So I've gone ahead to do that. Now the next thing to do is to finish off the hemline by folding it twice. Then I'm going to attach the zipper, and that will be all for this top. So guys, I'm done with the top. Here's the final look. You guys, this top is so pretty. I intended to add ruffles at the hem, but I ran out of fabric. I worked with like 1.5 yards of fabric for this top, and it still came out so well. The only thing I would change would be the puff sleeve. I wish I had more fabric to create a bigger puff sleeve, but that's still okay guys, that's fine. So right now, I'll go ahead to finish off the rough edges with a zigzag stitch. If you have an overlocker, you can use that. I'll also stitch down the end of my strings, and that will be all. I'll iron this properly and then try on the top to see what it looks like on me. So that's it for this tutorial. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in my next video.